Not a bad look.
The hair is bad luck. The Ringo Starr sunglasses, bad luck. It's a bad look.
You Zaslow?
Bad luck. Bad luck. Anytime you grow out your beard, put on gas station sunglasses, shave your head the way that you did, you look like Ringo Starr. Bad luck.
Yeah.
Bad luck.
You
Aging Beetle, bad luck.
Mm-hmm. You go gas station, huh?
No, I bought these at an airport, so my eye practically fell out of its socket while I was in New York for meetings. I honestly was a soldier. I was very uncomfortable. And it got to the point that several people, while I was speaking to them in the meetings, stopped me in my tracks and said, do you need to go?
A soldier? Your eyes were leaking in a New York meeting, and you've described yourself as a soldier.
Yeah, that was my flu game.
Is Greg Cody a soldier for toughing out 2 hours yesterday with his eyes leaking? We learned yesterday that his eyes leak. Is he also a soldier?
Something going around?
That was just stupid. I mean,
what was stupid?
He doesn't feel good. He doesn't need to come down here. He needs to get that looked at and checked out. We all care about him. We all love him. That's what he needs to be spending his time doing.
The eye tear thing, though, was not something related to him not feeling poorly. It was something he revealed yesterday. Mike Ryan does indeed look like Ringo Starr. Who did I tell you looked like when you walked in before you corrected me and said Ringo Starr instead? Because you look a bit greasy.
You told me I look like Adam Sandler and Uncut Gems.
You look very hard to trust.
Yeah, I do look like that. I apologize.
You made it Ringo Starr, which is also accurate and I think possibly better. But the look you presently has more distrust in it than I have for Ringo Starr.
Not sure what you're doing there.
Yeah, you look greasy.
My eye's feeling better. Thank you guys for asking. But the reason why I'm wearing sunglasses is a lot of sensitivity to light still. So that's why I look like Ringo.
Uh-huh.
Roy has what I would describe as an eternal sensitivity to light in the metaphorical sense. He is someone who comes in here clomping on most days with a morning unhappiness, but today's is special. Oof. People cleared the way on today because the Panthers did it exactly the way you would do it to have maximum doubt about the team that had the most points, which is lead 2-1, and you spend the whole second period waiting for Washington to score that second goal. And oh no, here come all three of them in the third period at home, now down to Ovechkin, and just a disaster. Exactly the way that you don't want it to happen if you're someone who doubts that this team can be the team that statistically during the course of the season scored 6 goals more often than they were held under 3.
I believe the Florida Panthers went the entire season not losing a game when they were leading heading into the third period. But the playoffs have started, and here come the Panthers doing Panther-type things.
Game 1, Roy, you have, if you want some more coverage of this, Chris Cody and Roy were on the scene. We will, if there are road games worth covering for the Panthers in this series or any other, Roy will be wandering near the premises. But you left. Did you sleep well last night, Roy? The season of your dreams last night started in the playoffs the worst possible way.
Oh, yeah, I slept pretty well last night. I mean, it's just game 1. Like, they're going to learn from the mistakes that happened last night. For instance, Sergei Bobrovsky did not have a good first period, but he got it together and he played great afterwards. It was the defense at the end of the game that kind of screwed things up for him. And the bad turnover by Mackenzie Weegar, he was out of position. He gave up 2 goals last night.
Mike Ryan accused him
There's no way Weegar slept.
Mike Ryan accused him of puck shaving.
I did say early on in like the second period before that slip-up goal in the third, is Weegar all right? Is he point shaving? Dude looks so clumsy and slow out there, and it bit them in the most embarrassing way where they turned a 5-person attack into a 2-on-none easy goal opportunity. I actually thought Bob was pretty stellar last night. I didn't see that bad first period. I mean, anytime you open a playoff game 1, 5-on-3, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And they basically scored a power play goal at the end. That was just the Capitals taking full control of that game. Only 2 goals from the Panthers, 0 control in the opposing zone. They just totally got taken out of their game by the Washington Capitals. And it's a different season. That is a very veteran-laden, Stanley Cup champion-proven team. And the Florida Panthers played like a team that was really antsy to win their first series in 26 years.
Yeah, the rebound control last night from Bob wasn't great. The Tom Wilson goal came off of a rebound, but after that, the defense kind of cleaned it up for him up until the turnover by Uyghur. Outside of that, the defense they played pretty well. The Panthers really did not get to establish their forecheck last night. There was maybe 4 instances where they actually had a very good forecheck, and they didn't get a one and done. It was more transition last night, going back and forth. So they really need to get things together. They'll learn from this, and they'll do better.
You sound like a coach. I mean, they'll learn what from this? They lost 4-2 in game 1.
He's trying to have some perspective, Dan.
But what will they learn from this? They're the best team in hockey. But what will they learn from this? Not to turn it over in their own zone?
Exactly.
Here's what they need to learn, Dan. Last night, the Florida Panthers lost game 1 because of toxic masculinity. They were way too aggressive. You can tell that the pregame speech must have been incredible. They were flying at the Washington Capitals. And I'm going to say this too quickly. They were too fast. They were trying to play. All right, guys, it's time to step up the intensity. We got to go at these guys. It's playoff hockey. Ah! And then they come flying out of the traps. That's not their game. Their game is skill. Their game is quality. Their game is finesse. And last night, they tried to be something that they're not. And when they do that, they just become any other hockey team. They look like any other hockey team last night. There was no moments where Jonathan Huberdeau is handling the puck with incredible skill. There was none of that last night. They should have gotten hammered last night. They were lucky to be ahead after 2 periods. They were dreadful because all they were intent on doing is going forward, keep going, forward. And it's like, no, man, that's not you.
Let's control the puck.
Let's control the puck. Keep a bit of possession. Enter the zone without having to dump in. It was ridiculous. There was way too much intensity. They just need to have someone to say, deep breaths. Let's do some yoga before puck drop. What are we doing?
Mm-hmm. Love this take. Toxic masculinity, 1, Panthers 0.
Okay. The Capitals kind of bottled up the middle of the ice, so and the blue line. It was hard getting into the zone, so they kind of had to dump and chase
when they take 2 penalties in the first 3 minutes, do you not think it's because they've completely lost the plot?
No.
No, it's because of toxic masculinity.
Exactly.
Witty dead on.
I've not heard something by way of excuse and explanation as good as that since Jesse Armstead lost to Ty Detmer against BYU, and it was very confusing. The number 1 team in the country in college football, and what Jesse Armstead said is that the Hurricanes were so fast that they knew exactly what BYU was doing, but they ran past their coverage assignments because they were too fast.
They got there too fast.
They would run past, and Ty Detmer would throw it behind them where they were, anticipating that they'd be too fast. You're saying they came out of
I already defended their pass.
You said they came out of the locker room too intense, too masculine,
too motivated.
It showed.
Too fast.
It showed. Well, I mean, 5-on-3, like right off the jump.
So too fired up, but they were still up 2-1 headed into the third period. I mean, they got it together.
Yeah, but they weren't playing their game.
They were getting outshot. They were getting.
They were up 2-1 by totally not playing their game.
It was funny to hear from some of our listeners who haven't been watching Panther hockey, and their takeaway at the beginning was, holy shit, they're fast.
Too fast.
Yeah, I get your point about not really flashing our skill. Barkey had a couple of smooth skating moments. He's just such a gifted, talented skater. Just couldn't get anything going. As soon as we got into the opposing zone, we took a bad shot. Didn't want to put we didn't want to be on the front foot the entire game. Zero thought to putting in some control and making the Washington Capitals work. And the Washington Capitals, they didn't do anything extraordinary at all.
Played their game.
Yeah.
They're the experienced heads in this series. And they just do what they do.
And this series, if I had an opportunity to speak on it beforehand, I thought this was going to be a long series because of that experience, because Washington is the best road team in the NHL. They're going to drag Florida Panthers into deep water. And the Florida Panthers are going to have to grow from it. It's a terrible matchup. It's a very difficult Eastern Conference. There weren't any good matchups.
I thought it was a good matchup because their goaltending's not great.
No, it's a good matchup because it's not the Lightning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
The goaltending is bad for Washington. And I will say that you said the Florida Panthers started off as bad as you possibly can imagine. I was encouraged by what I saw from the goaltending last night. I trusted Bob more and more as the game progressed, which is good. Spencer Knight, by the way, is a reigning Rookie of the Month. I imagine he'll get some sort of look. You probably trot Bob back out there for game 2 because he didn't do anything to lose a position.
I'm not doing this again. Billy, I have not heard from you long enough because we've gone 7 minutes here without talking about either Dave Chappelle and this is a siren and an alert every year at about this time for the last couple of years. When you start talking about Spencer Knight, I need to change the conversation to somewhere else.
When you
wanted to talk to me about Dave Chappelle?
I wanted to talk to you about gloating that the Panthers we're having the same Panther conversation.
I'm not gloating. I was watching the Panthers. I was very disappointed with last night.
He tweeted playoff Benny.
That's right. No, playoff Sam.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's a fine.
Big fine. Jeez.
Well, it's Benny.
You guys are saying it's only game 1, but you have to win game 1 at home against the Capitals when you're the favorite to win the Stanley Cup. You have to win that game. This
I mean,
does
when you
not
win the President's
bode well.
Cup.
This does
Well,
not bode well.
that's
for
the
the
problem.
President's Trophy.
No. Winning
White
the
House.
President's Trophy is a big problem. I'm sorry. It's a dumb award, and they need to get rid of it because
Rat poison.
you feel like you've won something already, and that's not the point. You won the regular season. There should not be a trophy for the team that wins the regular season. You feel like you've won something big before you actually have to go out and win something big. You know what I'm saying?
First off, they have won something big. The President's
Oh,
Trophy.
get out of here.
It doesn't matter, Whitty. Since 2004-2005 lockout, only 2
it's
President's
enough with
Trophy
this
winners
shit.
have
So
won
you're saying
the cup.
that the Florida
Only
Panthers should
3
have lost
reached
more
the final.
games?
Yes.
We're really saying
Just
that they
one
should
more
have
game.
Keep them in the
If
tank.
they lost, if
Keep
they
them in
lost
the
3 more
Colorado
games in the
should
regular
have.
season, they'd be fine right now. They'd be
Unbelievable.
1-0 up in the series.
Look
Like,
how
what are we
easy-
talking
look,
about?
The Avalanche looked great
this
last
is-
night.
Yep.
0 President's Trophy
Annoying.
pressure.
Exactly.
You have
Highly
to
annoying.
leave some
Thank you.
in the
This entire
tank for the
conversation.
playoffs.
Yep.
And this is what we talk about, Dan. You question if there's like generational trauma from hockey teams or sports teams that lose consistently in the playoffs. You're seeing it right now because the Capitals, they've been here before. They've gone on away ice and they've won at someone else's home when they weren't favored to win. And that's where experience and being able and winning the cup comes back and it helps you. And the Panthers, they haven't done it. So even if they're the favorite, they're not the favorite because they've never done it before.
There was a Whittingham sigh, and I think
Yeah.
moving forward, we all saw it. We
What's
heard it.
wrong with him? I mean, you go to a couple of games in Hawk Sweden, you
Speaking of
make yourself
toxic
Joe Hockey Puck
masculinity.
all of a sudden.
No, but I think anytime he does it, we all need to stop and hear what's on Whittingham's mind. I mean,
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. When Whittingham sighs, do we have to stop and see what's on his mind? Also, put these things on the poll as well. Are the Panthers the favorites, but not really the favorites, as Jessica said? And also, who has devalued the presidency more, Donald Trump or the Panthers?
Christ almighty.
You guys just need to all chill out. This was the best team in the regular season. How's everybody doing, by the way?
All
Good to
right.
see you again. It's been a minute. Thank you. Welcome back for playoff hockey.
We're in for a long haul here. It's NHL playoff time. Grow out those beards, lads. All right. So, you know how when you order fajitas at Chevy's?
No.
You know?
Yes,
They come
there's
out,
Sure.
They're all sizzling.
Yeah,
and,
sizzling.
like, you're sitting at your table and you're like, damn, I should have got the fajitas instead of this chimichanga. But it comes out, it's all sizzling, but it only sizzles for about 30 seconds. And then it's just like this brown, muddy, covered in onions, green pepper thing. It's still pretty delicious, bro. But you know what I mean?
It's no
not
longer
sizzling.
smoking.
Yeah,
It's not sizzling
it's not
anymore.
as
That was the
appetizing as it was.
Panthers last
Panthers
night.
came out sizzling, bro. they need to be more patient. Be a chimichanga. Don't be the fajitas.
Yeah.
They go out there into the deep blue and they want to take the first wave that comes out there. No, bro.
No, go
Hang
slow.
tight.
All right.
Go slow. Doggy paddle a little bit. Wait for the perfect tube.
very
It's-
wordy this morning.
It sounded like you did not.
Well, I think you need a calming influence here. I think the only guy that's making sense is the toxic masculinity guy.
You sighed, so let's continue the thought. And I will get to the Chappelle story that Mike evidently hasn't heard of because he was attacked on stage last night. And
He was?
with a guy with a knife.
Oh,
yes.
with a knife?
And
Is he okay?
Wow.
he is okay. And the video, the clips, somebody came at him like a line.
I was just confused as to why you only wanted to talk to Billy about it.
I wanted to talk to Billy not about Chappelle. I wanted to talk to him about the Panthers losing because he said this was going to happen. He said that every year it's this.
I take no pride in this, Dan. I will have you know. I want them to go and win
Right.
Lord Stanley just like everyone else, but I was, cautious. Always cautious. I don't want to open my heart because that's how it gets broken, and that's where I am with this team right now. You know what I mean?
But you let them in with playoff Sam.
Well, I have weaknesses. I'm just a man. You know what I mean?
You want to explain to people
There's ways
playoffs,
to penetrate my heart.
You want to explain to people
With Sam Bennett?
how
Yeah,
your heart
playoff
was
Sam.
penetrated by playoff Sam?
I was there. I was watching the game, sitting on the couch in Westchester, and then like a lightning bolt right off of the stick, top corner, off the bar. Some people were saying. I didn't hear it, but
that
I'll take
wrister.
Goldie's word for it. You know what I mean? Good shot.
It was a great wrister.
Yeah, it was.
Incredible. He must have been like 50 feet away, 60 feet away if I've ever seen it. How far away was he, Dan?
Whittingham, if I've ever seen it. Was
Yeah.
that necessary?
I love
Was
that.
the if I've ever seen it necessary?
Just saying.
50 or
you
60
asked me my
feet.
experience. I was watching.
It was an electric goal.
Your experience, though, is different.
Went through 2 guys and the goalie, 3 in total if you add them up.
So that's how playoff Sam worked his way into your heart.
We were in prime position to be the Wingcats last night. Get some 50% off Papa John's. Didn't happen.
Here we go.
happen.
Yeah.
And if Papa's listening, well, I guess if Shaq's listening now, because I think he stole the company from Papa John's, if I remember history correctly.
I don't think that's
Well, he took the
think
company
that's what
from.
happened.
He took the.
I think Papa John did it to himself.
Well, yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, the point is Papa John's is no longer in charge of that company, and I'm pretty sure Shaq's now the CEO. So if Shaq's listening, I feel like playoff wins, we should up the 50% to maybe 75%.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Same thing with Heat win, Cats, all that. What's the soccer one? MLS something?
You only need a draw for Inter Miami. You could have a
Yeah.
draw or a win.
Wow.
Yeah, what's that Inter code?
I think it's like Inter Miami
Inter
something.
Miami,
I want to
It's,
get to the Whittingham Psy in a second, but I've had 2 bad betting experiences here with my forays into betting sports that I don't really bet on.
Some bad beats.
Well, last night was not a bad beat. I just had the Panthers winning and them over 3.5 goals, so that did not
wow.
that did not work out to me. But it was not as bad as when you guys went up to that U.S.-Mexico soccer game. And I had the U.S. on the money line in a 3-team parlay, and the first 2 came in, and I asked Mike Ryan, how am I supposed to hedge this? His response is, you never hedge. And so I hedged wrong by just betting
This
the
is
other
how I
side,
win.
Mexico, and I lost both
No,
bets because it was a draw with no goals, which is what I deserved.
The
I
advice-
lost both bets on the hedge because I just simply bet the other side on Mexico and did not bet for a draw or a 0-0 tie. And so I lost both my bet and
He
the
played
hedge.
himself.
it's always a 0-0 tie in soccer. Everyone knows that.
He played
I mean,
himself. He followed up. He's like, Mike, stop being ridiculous. Actually, give me some advice here. I said, Mexico, pick 'em, which is basically Mexico draw or win. You would have been fine. He doesn't bet soccer enough to understand that, and so he just took Mexico
That's
to
right.
win.
Apologies, 0-0 is what I meant to
It's
say.
not that I didn't understand it. It's that wasn't one of the options on
You
my.
didn't have
I did not.
Mexico to not lose?
It was not the option I had.
quick update on 2 fronts. 1, the Papa John's promo code for Inter Miami is Inter Miami. And 2, I'd like to just come out and say Papa John is not a good guy. And probably
Yeah.
should have
Oh,
had
wow.
the pizza company taken away from
Glad
me.
you covered your bases
Yeah.
there.
Way to
I
go.
took care of you there, Billy. I
This
did.
is
I
the
got you.
spot-
I just
yeah,
want to make it publicly known I'm not endorsing any of what Papa John's was saying.
Not even the
It
pizza.
wasn't a hostile takeover from
I
Shaq.
kind of like the pizza. I'm not going to lie. But
Kick, save, and a butte, Bill.
Whittingham, why were you sighing? What was it? Just general Panther generational sigh? This team hasn't been good at any time that I've
Yeah.
been living.
A lot of people seem to enjoy the Panthers' defeat last night. A lot of our audience that has heard us blabbering on about the Panthers for 82 games are excited for them to lose. And honestly, I was doing the thing that the Panthers should have done last night with my deep sigh by just taking a moment to calm myself. I was about to get heated. I was about to enter the fray of an intense playoff conversation. You know what I did, Dan? Take a deep breath, and now I'm calm,
All right.
and we'll discuss the Panthers in a cogent and coherent manner.
You were mad at me. It was the President's Cup take, right? I mean, that's where I heard the sigh, to be honest with you.
President's Trophy.
Oh, whatever.
God damn it.
Mike, it is unbelievable how much
Whoa!
you look like
I'm wearing the same colored shirt.
greasy,
Oh, my God.
I didn't do this on
Adam
purpose.
Sandler in
Get out of here.
He's got like a
Yeah.
he's got a chain on.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. That's
Well,
a
that
little
joke's not
embarrassing.
funny anymore.
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
Getting back to the Chappelle story, there are some details here. There is a detail here, one detail that I'm going to give you that I believe is better than all the other details around this story, even if I'm informing you that a guy with a knife tried to linebacker tackle. He came up on stage very aggressively. If he had knocked Chappelle down, he got there fast enough that if he's got a knife, he could have done some damage. And maybe the previous Chappelle or someone who reacted as slowly as Chris Rock did would have gotten into like real physical injury here.
I'm just learning about this story. So the attacker, the alleged attacker, had a knife in his hand, but he opted to linebacker tackle him?
Mike, as I am just learning about this story, I am just seeing some of these grainy video clips. You got to keep in mind, Chappelle confiscates phones at his events. There's not 50 cameras from every angle with what's happened here, but there are details here that you can look up now to help me with this story because I just got to it as we started today. But the detail I want to give you, because one of the people who rushed to his defense, it was at this comedy festival that is going on. Is it in Canada right now? Jamie Foxx was one of the people who rushed to his defense, and Dave Chappelle made jokes about it afterward, saying he's been doing this for 35 years, and he's always wanted to stomp a dude out. And I don't know what happened exactly backstage, but I'm going to say it's a combination of a back room in the movie Casino or something that feels mafia-esque with security, making sure to protect the Chappelle money, because the attacker left with dislocated hands, like in the Righteous Gemstones. Wait till you see one of the pictures of this dude's arm. It is going in entirely the wrong direction as he is led out of the comedy club. The arm does not move like that. And I can only imagine what happened backstage to this person when they were out of the sight of video cameras. When I read multiple dislocated hands,
Right.
what happened there?
By the way, it was in L.A. last night. That's where his show was as part of Netflix is a Joke Festival. So there's I guess a traveling festival going on. Last night was the Hollywood Bowl in L.A.
Apparently it was a fake gun with a knife inside.
How do you bring that into a show?
I know. Who disguises a knife and a gun?
A lot of questions you have here. They're all reasonable. I don't know what's the best question here to be asking.
I've seen like those like boots that you hit the heel and a knife pops out. But you usually hide a knife in something unassuming.
Oh, Whittingham just saw the arm. Whittingham just saw the arm and recoiled with horror. It's such a good question. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Who hides a knife and a gun? Like,
Weird.
It seems, let me hide this thing that's going to get confiscated inside this thing that's more likely to get confiscated.
I think that's where the plan was doomed from the jump.
So you're saying this guy has poor judgment?
That's my read on it. No expert.
His elbow might give off more poor judgment than this knife inside of a gun. Oh my God. But this is horrifying. It's on a loop on my video. I can't stop watching it.
But Chappelle is okay, right?
It would appear as though he kept doing jokes afterwards.
He kept going on.
Yeah, he kept going.
Oh,
it was
his flu game.
It was towards the end of his set, and I believe actually Jamie Foxx ran out onto the stage
Steve Martin
as well.
Also.
Yeah.
But I'm saying he ran out onto the stage, and
Steve Martin.
There's some
I want
detail
you
there.
guys.
Steve Martin ran on the stage? That's a very funny visual.
Steve Martin also ran on the stage.
He beat the shit out of
Wait a minute,
Steve
this
Martin
guy's got a gun
Uncut Gems.
and it's hiding a knife. That sounds like a prop. I'm a prop comic.
It's a knife inside a gun inside Steve Martin.
It's a nesting doll of violence.
Of weapons. I want you
The
to
first shell
imagine.
is Steve Martin.
Imagine this guy at home, like being like, you know where I'm gonna hide my knife? In this fake gun.
Inside of Steve Martin.
Think about the inefficiency of tackling him like a light.
Nobody will ever expect this plan. A knife inside of a fake gun inside of a real Steve Martin. It's absolutely Nathan for you. The
Look,
plan.
Everyone listening to this, I want you for a moment to imagine that you're sitting in jail right now with your hands totally mangled and your arm going the wrong way. And you're wondering to yourself, shrugging your disformed arms at the end of your shoulders, where did my plan go wrong?
Oh!
You just saw the arm too.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's pretty horrible. It's something really horrible happened to this person who had a horrible intent. But I simply want all of you to please imagine this person in jail realizing the inefficiency of his plan now with his broken hands and arms, saying to himself, well, I went for the tackle, and after that, I was going to have to go through the inefficiency of removing my knife from my gun.
From my fake gun.
Fake gun.
From my fake gun.
So usually when someone gets hurt like this after an alleged incident, they actually take them straight to the hospital first and not to jail. But the protocol is to handcuff that person to their hospital bed. And I'm not really sure how they can do that with this victim or attacker who turned out to end up being a victim.
Fake gun made me think of something else here. For those of you who don't know our video department, Tony and Lewis, La Esquina de Chusmeria, their judgment is sometimes impaired. And you made me think of it here when you mentioned fake gun, because I'm not kidding you when I tell you, and I mentioned this yesterday, that the Miami Heat's facility is a bit like a military silo, and when they practice, they're in the corridors and stuff. There's a lot of security, and there's a command center, something known as a command center.
They are very upset with you questioning their judgment, and they're like, what is that supposed to mean? What's going on? And then Lewis screamed, it's because I'm brown. So just so you know, you've been accused of racism towards Lewis by Lewis.
Well, Billy, you be the officiant here. You be the
They're
arbiter.
ridiculous, so I'll probably side with you.
Well, but you be the impartial arbiter on whether this is because they're brown or because they tried to enter through something that was a command center without telling anybody that they had a hatchet, a chain, and weapons on them that were meant to be fake, as they had to go through a metal detector and a command center to get into a facility that's secured because there are famous people there and there is money there. They wanted to have my father tasered because he was going into the facility without telling anybody that he had this stuff on him.
I mean, they're right. It would have been better content. And also, like, if you're trying to smuggle something in, you don't go and tell security, I'm trying to smuggle something in, right?
Do we get it in?
Exactly. They got it in, so ultimately they were right. You try to get things in by all means necessary. You know what I mean? Like, you think the guy that was wearing the Whizzinator said, hey, by the way, I'm wearing a fake penis filled with fake pee just in case? No. You just try to get through security, see what happens.
Correct.
Yeah.
I thought Poppy brought the weapons, Dan. Now this is Tony's fault?
Whoa.
Tony was there and nobody checked with anybody, and vice presidents had to be called as an old man with weapons arrived at the command center because they hadn't done anything other than go buy a hatchet.
I mean, but how do you explain that to security? Like, hey, my boss wants his dad to run around here with a hatchet, so can you let it slide?
Right.
You know how lucky you are that my father didn't get escorted out of there with dislocated hands? That bald Heat security guy.
Oh my God.
Oh, that guy?
That guy shook
He's
my
still
hand
there?
once and I ended up like the Chappelle attacker. Jess says that your father should have hid the hatchet inside a gun.
Are there any more details on this Chappelle story that are worth noting? Because I really do want to hear from the person. The defense is going to be insane, correct? This is not going to be a cause, right? You're not protecting equality or trans rights by stabbing Dave Chappelle with a knife that's hidden inside of a fake gun, are you? This is just going to be, the explanation for this is just going to be lunacy. The details are going to be lunacy.
There hasn't been a reported
Right.
motive out there right now. They can't quite put the finger on it because his hand's behind his back.
I'm not certain there's a defense for walking up during someone's show in public with a knife inside of a gun inside of Steve Martin. Like, I'm just not sure there's a defense for that. In fact, there's probably not.
But what is the motive? Is he standing up for trans rights and some misguided physical attack. There's nothing out there just yet.
Other than incredibly mangled hands and an arm. Whittingham, you are a broadcaster. Both you and Stugotz recoiled in disgust, and maybe it's enough to just have your sounds recoiling in disgust. But I'm having a hard time explaining to people who might not have the video how distorted that arm is as that person is walking through the dark. How clearly distorted, even though it's bad camera, bad lighting.
The way I'm seeing it, Whitty, is from the elbow down, his forearm is in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Now imagine like putting your arm on a table and then rotating it 270 degrees. That is essentially what happened to this man's arm.
And Chappelle says on stage that he stomped him out. I wanted to ask you guys because Mike Tyson was in the news recently, and I haven't seen charges pressed by this guy, but I've heard people say all their lives that they want to instigate, the hypothetical of wanting to instigate Mike Tyson into violence because then you can sue and settle, and it's a giant paycheck. Now, obviously, that's not the case when you attack somebody with a knife. But my guess is if Chappelle's on stage saying on stage, I've always wanted to stomp someone out, 35 years doing this, his arm looks like somebody was stomped out. Like his arm looks like it would look if a bunch of people were just stepping on you again and again, kicking the holy shit out of you because that guy is an economy who pays a whole lot of people. And security needs to get there as fast as the security got there in that Minnesota-Memphis game when you're protesting chickens. But when I say, Stugotz, because I have not heard from the guy who was instigating with Mike Tyson, seemed like he was drunk. People were complaining about him. And Mike Tyson, there's video of him just going into the back seat and beating the hell out of somebody that he had reportedly been nice to before that, but then crossed the line. Mike Tyson got a gun pulled on him recently at a show and just stared at the gun, like as you would imagine that Mike Tyson might do, because it's not the first time he's had a gun pulled on him. But when you've heard people say that, Stugotz, that I'll take the beating and take my chances with a lawsuit and a settlement, that sounds like something that you might have said at some point in your life.
I'm down with that. Beat the holy hell out of me. Go ahead, Mike. Just as long as I'm alive and I can, dial a phone, talk to a lawyer, and get him to sue. Yep. And then I have the story and the cash. I mean, what's better than that? Hey, Mike Tyson, he beat the shit out of me on a plane, and I got a couple of $1 million out of it. I mean, no harm, no foul.
Well, there's harm.
Oh, what's the harm?
There is harm.
Black eye.
There is harm.
My face is smashed in.
And you're foul.
Thank you.
Did you guys see the Penguins game?
Yeah. 2 games.
Oh,
My Penguins.
I didn't. Your Penguins.
My Penguins.
What are you talking about?
You say
back.
that? Wait, did you see the Penguins game?
Oh, yeah.
You say
all
that?
7 overtimes.
You say
Did you see the second game?
My Penguins.
You did stay up for that.
My Penguins.
If a game goes to triple overtime in the playoffs, is it automatically a classic? Because everyone was calling that a classic this morning.
I don't know. 3
just-
overtimes is rare. 3 overtimes, I think, falls in classic territory.
That's an additional game. That game was wild.
Oh, it was great.
It was. I was keeping an eye on it on the second TV. That I thought that game was over in the third period, and Pittsburgh's head coach is 8 for 8 on coaches' challenges, and he got a goal taken off, and it ended up being a huge play in the game because Pittsburgh actually ended up winning that game on the road. Stole a game 1.
The Penguins
Stole a
had to change goaltender, and the backup revealed after the game that he had a full meal of spicy pork in between the first overtime and second overtime, and then was chucked into the game.
So did Dan.
At like 1 a.m., he ate a plate of spicy pork.
That is a funny detail. It's one thing to say pork, but you throw the spicy in there. Now you've altered what that intermission meal is about, and you've made second period and third period a good deal more perilous when you throw in the spicy.
Yeah, that's much better than the usual pizza slices and orange slices that they usually get during overtime.
Guy really sat down, had a full course meal. I mean,
Hockey intermissions are long.
The hockey locker room. I
Yes.
hope he steps outside it. They are foul. The way they smell.
Well, the pads.
Those are those are worse than football locker rooms.
Yeah.
The way those
Stinky,
dudes
man.
smell, it is the grossest funk anywhere you will find in athletics in a locker room, and you cannot be eating spicy pork in there.
You can't be eating anything near there. When I used to cover Notre Dame hockey games in college, the funk from the locker room would permeate into the hallway. So if you were like waiting to interview the coach or go to like a press conference or anything like that, like you could smell it from the hallway. It was so gross.
It's a bit hard to explain. Crunch Fitness here on the beach has been here 40 years. It has 40 years of sweat in its walls. Every locker room, when one of these guys in hockey starts taking off those pads and you realize they have 17 pounds of sweat in whatever their uniform is,
Right.
because what they do is just sprinting around all the time, those locker rooms are foul.
I mean, it's 20 pairs of wet hockey gloves and wet hockey skates that'll do it to you.
The
It's
other
bad.
thing
That
is like
too.
interviewing a hockey player if they take their glove off and like they're holding the mic near your face.
Yeah,
Stinky.
it's just the deep, heavy, awful of mildew.
I mean, why don't you? You think you see these scrubs over here? They're face washing these guys over here. Why do you think they do that?
So they smell better?
It's very
No.
nice of him. I mean,
Yeah.
No.
You don't even have the heat to evaporate some of the sweat. It just all pools in those pads.
You think if the guy at the Chappelle show just brought in a hockey glove and threw it on stage, it would have had a better intended effect?
Well, no. Then Chappelle would have had a heads up that this person wants to fight. When you throw the gloves down, it's
exactly right.
Yeah, you're signifying you want to rumble.
I have a further detail on Penguins goaltender Louis Domingue.
Yep.
He also, not only did he have spicy pork, he had a full plate of broccoli as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, the smells
Little
there.
side of broccoli.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That's a lot of fiber, though. For,
You have some
Yeah.
wine?
through a game.
I asked the audience a triple overtime game. If you've opened the playoffs with that, whether you think it's a classic or not, Stugotz, these games, but the teams at the top of this sport are really good. And to play a triple overtime game on a weeknight as your hockey experience begins as a fan, what a delightful week you will have if you care about that team, if you have won.
Yes.
But what a terrible night. What a terrible night if you're on the wrong end of that game. You've stayed up through 3 overtimes. You've been terrified the entire time. You smell like a hockey locker room, and you smell like spicy pork. And
It's so funny because me and Abby, we were watching that game, and I had one eye on the Warriors Memphis game, which was a great game. John Morant was incredible, and we were saying, "Wow, what a miserable night!" Because it's at Madison Square Garden. It's all Ranger fans. What a misery to sit there for that long, watch 2 hockey games. Your team loses, and then you have to go home, and you realize it's Tuesday nights. I mean, oh my God.
Ooh, it sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks.
Right?
And it's race week, Dano.
we will talk more about F1 in Big Suey because Tony and Chris Whittingham have signed up for a brave thing. And Valerie, my wife, is going to do helicopter flips.
The excuse machine is already being cranked up.
What's
by Tony.
happening?
It is being cranked up.
Excuse. It's not an
We'll
excuse.
get to it later. We'll get to it later. The excuse machine is being cranked
Non-
up.
Okay, we will get to that later.
We need to get to the fact that Whittingham is not doing this until tomorrow, yet he has a bag packed, and he did it this morning.
He packed his bag this morning. We're going to see. I don't know if there's going to be some visual surprises here, whether it will be allowed, but Whittingham is jumping from an
A
airplane.
bag for what? Like, you don't take your own parachute.
No, so the bag is packed because this place is far from where I live.
Where is it?
Far.
Right next to my crib.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Tamiami
Oh,
Airport.
Tammy Airport's
Tammy
right there.
Airport is.
Dude, there's a wobble right in front of
I'm
it
trying
now.
to get
Oh,
there.
nice.
I'm trying to get there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I think it might take me an hour and a half
Oh,
if I go
man.
in the morning. So I'm kind of planning post heat game, maybe like go get a hotel or something like that.
Crash at the crib, dog.
Oh.
No, wait, so he doesn't know if he's staying at the hotel yet. He has still packed a bag. I love you. I mean,
I wanted to ask you guys something that was caught on video. Game 1, the Heat game. We will talk more about what it is that Whittingham and Valerie and Tony is or isn't doing, might be trying to bail on with Red Bull as part of the F1 festivities. But the video that caught Maxey and Harden on the bench, and Harden went and sat next to Maxey, and Maxey got up and moved. What's that? How often do you see that? Did James Harden smell bad like a hockey
The beard
locker
has
room?
to smell. I mean, doesn't it? It has to smell badly. It's like, you get sweat trapped into the pads of a hockey goalie. You get sweat trapped in that beard.
The team doesn't get along. This has been known. Open your third eye, folks, and listen to Basketball Illuminati. They volunteer it to folks that it's a disaster in that locker room, and Doc's not doing much to bridge the gap over there. Everyone's just kind of running out the clock over there. That's why I don't see this team coming back from just its 1-0 deficit to the Miami Heat with Embiid banged up.
It's one thing to not get along. It's one thing for us to learn about your schisms in a locker room. It's another thing to not abide someone so much that they come and sit next to you on a bench and you get up and leave in a way that makes it known that you can't sit next to that person for 3 seconds and even play polite professional.
Yeah, it's a terrible look. That's how bad it is, to have total disregard for the optics of that. To put that out into social media and arm people with that.
But it's not.
It's immature from Maxey. Maxey shouldn't have done that. I don't know to the extent that their divide is, but you shouldn't be doing that shit. That's a bad.
Well,
look.
let's examine, though. Never mind the optics of it. Let's just examine what's happening there, because again, and some of you object to Matt Sullivan being on our show. Matt Sullivan did the book on the net season, and the last time he was on with us, his criticism of Kyrie Irving was withering and very judgmental and much different than his appraisal of Kyrie Irving when he was writing the book. But the details that Matt Sullivan gave you on two things, Stugotz. One, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant running that team. But ancillary, them being unhappy because James Harden as an economy, James Harden Inc., James Harden superstar arrived and showed up at training table when he wanted and would get there late and was just sort of, you've got three, it really is a bit of an athletic cliche, right? 3 stars. And they're like, I'm such a big star. You can make a movie about this stuff, Stugotz. The star that gets there with so much ego, and the other stars are looking at him and like, you're not any better than us. Why are you behaving as if you're better than us? We brought this team to Brooklyn. We traded to get you out of Houston after you were making a mess in Houston. And that lasted 16 months.
Yeah.
What is James Harden doing? Like, what's happening with teammates and professionalism that Kyrie and Durant can't abide you and Maxey can't sit next to you for 3 seconds? Like, what are the details of either in game? Because Harden had 5 turnovers in the game. Maxey had a couple. The offense runs through Harden. Harden's going to get stifled. Like, they're not going to allow. Stugotz, the other thing I was thinking about with Harden when we were talking about how you use up your body in that sport, I know he's hugely strong. I know that all of us listening to this can't possibly understand how strong James Harden and Jimmy Butler are.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, that works in a key in that sport that can go get fouls. But good God, his style of game, if I foul you for season after season and make you land on the floor again and again and again and again, and you're drinking and strip clubbing, and you're just 12 fouls a game, you're landing on the floor all the time. Like, you're going to use up your body, and you're going to lose that step, and he's not going to be able to go for 50 with the same, MVP style that he had when he was faster than this, and his body was less used than this.
But I think the drinking and the strip clubs, that's the problem. Like, if I had to guess, I think the problem is, hey, we traded for you. We traded my friend for you and Ben Simmons. You were supposed to come here and save this team. You haven't worked hard. You've been a disaster. You're not nearly as good as you used to be. You're out partying. Like, that could wear on a team, and it could wear on a teammate. And if I had to guess, I would think there's some of that within there.
I know what's happening. I actually can speak to this. I've been pretty plugged in on the James Harden beat all season long. I told you he was going to Philadelphia. James Harden, you know that scene in Winning Time where Kareem's like, I'm going to end the game with 30 and 10. And he ends the game with 30 and 10. That's what it's like playing with James Harden. His teammates constantly voice their concerns with it. Coaches repeatedly tell him what to do. James Harden is always going to play his game. He's not a dick about it. you talk to him. He's kind of receptive, but he just ends up always playing the same way. For teammates, it's not a fun experience. James Harden is always going to get his, and he doesn't give off this sort of care and intensity that other star players do. He's just a weird person to play with, and he cares about getting his numbers.
I don't think that
he's not getting his numbers, though.
That's the evolution. He counted on a certain way to get his game, to get those numbers. He's still trying to do it. It's still a painstaking experience trying to watch him play. I hate watching the guy play. It's only getting worse as he's getting older, but his mentality is not changing. He is not doing the things necessary to help that team win. But when you look at it, he's getting his assists. You're going mad trying to figure out what is their problem, because his assist numbers, he's running point, he's getting other people involved. How is this not landing? I didn't think he was playing too bad of a game against Miami to have that kind of reaction from Maxey. It wasn't about that game. It was about their entire experience in just a few short months with James Harden.
Are you guys at all interested in the roots of the story from the OKC Thunder days of all three of the guys? They're all three under 25. They got Ibaka. I saw him on the Bucks bench the other day. I was like,
you did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's Ibaka.
Wow.
So you got three guys, Harden, Durant, and Westbrook, come into stardom at the same time. Harden was an epic failure in those finals. He was the sixth man. He was neutralized in the series, disappeared. I don't know what he thought about his numbers or who he was back then, but in that series, Westbrook had a 40-point game. Durant was Durant. They left him in terms of stardom behind. He went to another team. You see what happens when Westbrook gets distorted with ego, triple-double, MVP, I'm this good, I did it the right way, OKC loves me, I go to Lakers, burns out in a year. I'm the guy. Why am I a bad teammate now? I'm the guy. D'Antoni builds everything around Harden, makes him an MVP, makes him somebody who's a scorer that people will tell you, when the rules were different, that's as efficient a scorer as there's ever been. Period. Ability to get threes, abilities to get free throws. They changed some of the rules because that aesthetic is brutal, but they had to change the rules for James Harden. Of course he's going to be ego lopsided. Of course Carmelo doesn't want to go to the bench, and it's got to be beaten into him that he's a lesser player. Like, it's easy to understand how he arrived there. He had monster success while going to strip clubs.
Yeah. He's still an all-star. We're talking about him like his career is done. It's not done. He has to change. Look what happened to Carmelo. Carmelo was out of the league because he couldn't adapt to a role, and he had to miss the game for a full season in order for it to cement in his head that he needs to approach it differently. You are a bit of a role player now. James Harden is still an all-star caliber player, but his game needs to change. His approach needs to change as his teammates change, and he's just not interested in doing that.
He's still recovering, though, from asking for a trade ahead of the 2020 season. He sabotaged his own body to such a degree that he then does get the trade to Brooklyn, tries to play his way into shape, then hurts his hamstring to such a degree that he's still recovering from the hamstring injury in time for this season. Then he's trying to force his way out into another trade, and now it's 2 years of his body not being right.
We had this conversation when the hero that wasn't actually a true legitimate rumor, because the Heat swear by it wasn't hero for Harden. But we always question, what kind of culture fit is James Harden? Not at all. I mean, who was it that said James Harden doesn't even have internet? The dude is just aloof. He only cares about going out there, rolling the ball up, getting his numbers, doing his nightlife thing, hearing people complain about him taking it with like a thumbs up, and then just showing up and doing the same shit all over again.
And then doing Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And I do love that Chris Cody was asking after game one, does he just put on one of the ridiculous outfits and head over to Tootsie's? Does he just head over just like another night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mike, that's what needs to change. Like you were talking about things he needs to change. It's the schedule of going to the strip club. Like when you're young, you could do it. No. You could do it
Everyone
5,
goes to
6,
the strip
7
club in the
days.
NBA.
No. When you're young, you could do it and go out and play and be an MVP. As you get older, you cannot do that anymore. You need to adjust your strip club schedule. I am telling you, I have experience on this front.
I am not being a prude when I lament the going to the strip club. It's the every night addiction of you have to be there till 5 a.m. in the middle of the party stuff I'm talking about.
Did you say he doesn't have the internet?
No, I didn't say that. Someone said, I have to find the quote. But
that sounds like a dream, honestly.
It was on our show that James because there was that time. Remember in the bubble, he showed up with a Blue Lives Matter mask. And the Rockets put it on social, and they tweeted it out, and we're like, what kind of a look is this in that summer in America? James Harden just smiling, just like
Maybe it was
up.
on sale.
And someone explained that James doesn't know what that means. He doesn't have internet. Yeah, Young Thug. It was Young Thug. So you know, James Harden is my brother. By the way, he doesn't have internet, so he obviously doesn't know what is right or wrong if he posted something against the U.S. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Us, I'm sorry. He meant black people.
It's a fine.
I guess.
I mean,
Dude, I changed brada to brother.
It's a big fine.
And I wasn't reading the rest of that tweet.
You're my brother.